Welcome to r/best of Redditor updates, where OP's 9-year-old sister was sent to boarding school, but she never came back. OP suspects foul play, and what happened to her is seriously terrifying. I'm a 14-year-old male. I'm an American, but I live in Asia, being vague because I don't want this traced back to me if the situation is as bad as it seems. I don't know if I should give some sort of background or anything, but up until about 7 months ago, I lived with my mom, who's 39, and my dad, who's 41, plus my little sister, who's 9 years old. I want to say this because my sister is no longer here. She's in boarding school. I want to preface this by saying we are not bad kids. We're half white, half Asian. When my grandpa, on my dad's side, got sick 4 years ago, we moved here so my dad can take care of him. My sister and I worked hard to learn the language. Despite her age, she caught on better than me, and I was so impressed with her. The issue began with my grandma. She would look down on my sister, and I love my sister, and I didn't like it one bit. My mom said it's cultural and I shouldn't make a fuss, but it was hard when Grandma started making it obvious. She got me clothes, games, etc., but my sister got no attention. I should mention that 4 years ago we lived with Grandpa and Grandma. In that time of me getting spoiled, my sister got reprimanded for everything she did. I swear, it was super unfair, you wouldn't believe it. Just under a year ago, Grandpa passed away, and my parents decided we'd stay here since I already speak and read pretty fluently. Grandma spoke to everyone about how rude and unladylike my sister is, and my parents went along with it when I completely think that was wrong. 7 months ago, she and Grandma went out and my parents said she'd be at boarding school for the summer. Just the summer. After 3 months, I got anxious and asked when she'd be back, and I ended up crying at the question. I was talked to by my dad, and he said she loved boarding school so much she didn't want to come back yet. Like, what? Is that how boarding schools work? I don't think so. Maybe I've been watching too much TV or reading too much Reddit, but we're in another country and I swear what they were doing was emotional abuse. It gets worse. After 5 months, I still hadn't gotten any contact. No message, no letters, nothing. That's when my dad started making her room into his office space. We got into a big fight over it and I ended up with more chores. But he never answered why he was doing it and if she'd be back soon. Anyway, it's now been 7 months since that car trip that took my sister away, and the final nail in the coffin hit. I was looking through the attic for my mom and found a box with some of her old stuff, including her phone. Why wouldn't she have her phone? I just want to know if there's anything I can do. No one will tell me which boarding school she's at. I'm told not to worry about it because I'm a child. I know I'm too young to do much, but if there's anything I can do, please help. When I think about it, I can't stop remembering the way my mom cried that day. It makes me shiver. I've been imagining the worst, and I'd hate if it ended up being something along my mind. Then OP posts an update. It's been a crazy few weeks, but I needed to update as soon as possible. So, thanks to the Reddit community, I was able to get in touch with a few different sources, the least favorite of which was a phone call towards those that help find trafficked children. I knew my family would be investigated and went to meet up with another family at that time. So, a Redditor close to my age, who I'll keep private, met with me and she had already shared my story to her family. They ended up letting me stay with them for a bit and made the proper calls to make sure it wasn't illegal. I actually even specified that I wasn't running away from home and I'd come back after the investigation. It didn't sit so well with the authorities and I was actually forced to go back home. But it only got stranger from there. I went back home to an empty house. Even Grandma was gone, so I was allowed to stay with the other family for the time being. They were extremely kind. For a week, I didn't get any news, and bless her mother's heart, but I was told I had a home here, no matter the results. So, a few days after a week had passed, I get a call, and it turns out they found my sister. My family had been taken in for questioning, and they were placed in holding for quite a while. I'm not sure why they didn't tell me this immediately, though. I don't actually know the full story, but my sister was living close to 435 miles away. Yeah, nearly a whole day's drive. It wasn't summer school, boarding school, or anything like that. My dad sold my sister to get married. My mom was off the hook as I still needed a parent, and she wasn't in on it until it was a decent way in. My dad and Grandma have been arrested, though, and I'm back living with my mom and sister now. I'm still in contact with the Redditor babysitter that let me stay with her, and I'll be forever grateful. She's my angel. On a more depressing note, my sister doesn't speak much, but she seemed to cheer up after I let her read my post. She said she felt abandoned and alone, among other things. But seeing how I and plenty of strangers gave their hearts for her made her very happy. So thank you all. Sorry for being so vague here, but I'm trying to protect identities. This isn't over by a long shot. Things are going to happen. But I have my sister. Wait a minute. What? OP's sister was sold as a child bride at 9 years old. Am I reading this correctly? This is straight up human trafficking, oh my god. I've read so many Reddit stories, and this has to be one of the worst ones. And it makes me so mad that OP's own dad and grandmother were behind it. How can someone do that to their own family? Oh my god. Also, let's not forget OP himself is only 14 years old. The awareness of the situation and determination OP has shown to find his sister, it's amazing. My heart goes out to the little girl. Jesus, what did I just read? Am I the butthole for still going on a trip without my boyfriend after he canceled last minute, but I didn't want to? My boyfriend and I are both 30 years old. We've been together for 3 years. My friend and I went on a road trip vacation for a few days and just came back yesterday. It was originally my idea and meant to be a girls' trip, but then we decided to include our significant others as well and make it a full party weekend. This vacation was a long time planning and I was really looking forward to it, as have the others. A few weeks ago, my boyfriend said that he doesn't want to go. I tried to convince him otherwise because our hotel, activities, etc. were already booked, but he wouldn't budge, said that some of them still have free cancellation and he'd pay for the ones that don't. Okay, his choice. I was still planning to go with my friends. My boyfriend, however, started saying that I shouldn't go either, and stay with him for support and so he isn't alone. I told him that I've really been looking forward to this trip, and if he's not going, that's fine, but I still want to. We had a bit of an argument over this, and I ended up going. I had a great time. Since I've come back, though, my boyfriend's been giving me the cold shoulder. Am I the butthole for going on the trip without him? Someone asks OP for more info, saying, had anything major happened that he might need your support for? I could understand him being upset with that, but you would still not be the a-hole, as staying isn't a requirement. OP replies to this by saying, he's been diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a type of cancer, often begins in the legs, bones of the pelvis, and arms. However, it's not advanced, and he starts chemo next week, so the trip didn't overlap with it anyway. He's been worried about the whole situation, and I've tried to help him, but a lot of his family live near us too, so he has support from them. Then, OP posted an update. Long story short, we've broken up. I didn't want either of us to have hard feelings and wanted to make it work, so we sat down and had a long discussion. I told him that, of course, I'll support him all the way, but it can't always be on his schedule. I have a life too, and just because I'm not physically with him doesn't mean I'm not thinking of him. Well, that wasn't enough for him. He just kept saying that I've shown that I don't care, unsupportive, selfish, etc. Again, I told him I most definitely care about him, but his diagnosis doesn't mean my needs and wants get put on hold. I was gentle despite him verbally attacking me and trying to make him see my point of view. He didn't and just said that we're over. I'll be moving out very soon and have the support of my family and friends. He also demanded the money he paid for the trip back, which I've agreed to. I mentioned this in a comment and people seemed to completely ignore it, but I wasn't his only support system. A lot of family, including his mom and sister, live nearby, and his friends too. And also, he's a doctor himself, so he has more knowledge of this than anyone else. Okay, so let me get this straight. Your partner of 3 years has cancer, and instead of looking after him, you went on a trip with your friends. I can't imagine possibly being able to do that. How are you supposed to do that? And for those of you who didn't know, this isn't even just a regular garden variety cancer. This is a hyper-deadly form of bone cancer that pretty much guarantees amputations and literally every cancer treatment having to be thrown at it. Also, because it's a bone cancer, it's extremely painful. This reminds me of Technoblade, a YouTuber who recently passed away due to the same form of cancer. And the absolute most telling part about this whole post is how little time OP spent letting us know about this deadly, life-changing diagnosis. OP, you are the absolute butthole of the century, leaving your cancer-diagnosed patient behind for having a weekend trip with your friends. What is wrong with you? I hope OP's boyfriend can make a full recovery and find a partner who isn't as selfish as OP. Our next Reddit post is from r/anti-work. I was the last standing delivery driver at a busy pizza shop who finally quit. My boss loses everything, including his mind. Finally had enough, walked out. The delivery place is left with no drivers now. I've spent the last 3 years delivering pizza for one of the mega chain companies, and I'm finally effing done. Minimum wage, of course, and a flat rate delivery fee paid to the driver of $1.50. They charge you $4 for delivery, we get $1.50 of it. Most days there is nothing but a single driver and a manager trying to run a place doing 30 plus pizzas per hour from 11 a.m. to midnight. Closing and cleanup takes until a minimum of 2 a.m. And I've had days where I came home past 4. Customers screaming, ranting, and canceling orders all day long. Orders flooding in nonstop all day and night. It's like living in a constant panic attack. Always stressed, always a dozen things that need doing, and a dozen other things that nobody did. At the beginning of the pandemic, this store had about 16 drivers on staff. Barely adequately covered with those, but doable. Gradually lost about 2 per month to where we are now. Gigantic delivery area that they refuse to contract at all that can't be covered by anything less than 6 drivers. Double that when busy, which we are non-stop. We've had 2 drivers all summer, which is totally insane considering we're open 7 days, 13 hours per day until a month ago. Now, they have none. I've been working an average of 70 hours per week, some weeks over 90, averaging over 700 miles per week on my car. Easily half of the people don't even tip at all anymore. At the beginning of the pandemic, a 70-hour week was easily over $1,000 in my pocket. Since the beginning of this year, it's gradually dropped to maybe $500 max. And I'm just totally exhausted and stressed nonstop. They won't raise the wage. The franchise owner swears people are just lazy and frequently intimates that all his current employees are just lazy whiners. Last night, 20 deliveries were on the board, and I was the only driver. Make line is backed up at least 45 minutes, and walking customers mostly walk out when they come in to order and see what's going on. He's working the counter for his once-per-month shift, where he mostly just screams and gets in the way, lying to customers, telling them it'll be 15 minutes for their order when we're at a minimum of an hour. And he decides I'm not moving fast enough. In front of a dozen customers, all standing in the front, pissed, waiting for their extremely late food. Owner: you need to goddamn run with those deliveries. People are hungry. Had it. Done. No more. Enough. Dropped all the food I was carrying in the middle of the floor, went out back, cashed me out, took my lock off my locker and emptied my stuff, went out front, brought in the stupid company car topper, and tossed it into the pile of food on the floor, and just left. No idea what he was screaming while it happened. Don't care. So finally and totally done with him and every other boss out there who acts like this and runs a business like this. It's not a business when they think this is how to run things. It's some kind of ego-stroking, half-assed hobby, and I ain't here for it anymore. On the plus side, I slept 12 hours last night for the first time in forever and feel amazing as hell today. It's like a huge lump of stress, rage, hatred, and panic has just evaporated inside. Then OP posted an update. The owner just texted me wanting to know if I was coming in tonight. Friday night. Dude, it's Friday night and you're late. Are you coming? I got no drivers here and already over 20 deliveries sitting here. I am definitely never going back. So far, his texts are almost all just repeats of, you coming in or not? Till the last one. It's not as good as one would hope for. Until, that is, the latest text, up to 8 now. I'm gonna effing sue you for ruining my business and job abandonment. Dunno how that works, but I'm just high enough now to have responded, hope your lawyer is cheap because I worked for you, so you know I'm effing broke. Now apparently I'm fired, even though I quit. Don't care, but definitely filing for unemployment insurance since he was dumb enough to fire me via text after walking out. Can't wait for his freak out when they send through the paperwork for that. However, so I drove by this morning thinking I'll be decent and return my uniform shirts and whatnot, try to act like an adult or whatever. Sign on the door, handwritten, that simply says, "Closed today due to a lack of staff." Texted around to my former coworkers, and apparently his rage fits all Friday night and all Saturday day and night cost him 2 of his insiders and shift runners. There were only 4 left as it was, and the other, daytime driver, told him to go F himself and walked out as well midday Saturday. The dude is self-destructing, I guess, and doesn't seem to care if he torpedoes his business. Now he has absolutely no drivers and only his store general manager and an insider, 17-year-old boy who only works 10 hours a week after school. Oh well, left my uniform shirts in the dumpster around the corner. Then, OP posted an update. My former employer is on my front lawn now, screaming his head off. He nearly gets himself arrested because he won't accept that I quit. Knock on my door today, and I answer it to my former boss. Not happy about that, as I seriously dislike people just showing up at my house uninvited. Ex-boss. So now that you've had some time, are you ready to grow up and be a man and come back to work? Friday tomorrow and I need my people. Me. What did you just say? Grow up and be a man? I quit. We're done. Go away. I don't have anything to say to you. I start to go inside, but he launches into an unbelievable rant about being closed for half this week, and that's all my fault. It seems the rest of the crew followed me out, and all he has left is his general manager. He's losing money, and how is he supposed to staff a store open 100 hours a week with just him and his general manager? And it's my fault for quitting. He's spending so much on DoorDash fees, sending out deliveries, that he is gonna go broke any minute now. He's let his staff dwindle from nearly 30 employees pre-pandemic down to the last half dozen or so, and we all bailed finally as well, and this is my fault? Me. I don't care. I'm not interested. I don't care. I don't know how else to tell you. Why are you here? I'm not going to work for you, ever, for any reason. Go away. Ex-boss. You're just a child and a coward. Get back to work. I need you there. Me. Go away and get off my property. I slam the door and head inside. He's on my front porch, banging on the door like a goddamn maniac. My dogs are losing their cool. He's screaming and ranting at the top of his lungs, threatening to sue me for job abandonment, for ruining him and bankrupting him, how it's my fault his kids are gonna starve and be homeless. My neighbors are starting to hear him. It's a beautiful day out and everybody has their windows open, so it's kinda hard not to hear him. Finally, I've had enough listening to this. The poor, nice old guy across the street is standing on his lawn with his next-door neighbor, and they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on over here. He starts to leave at least, finally. Because I'm a petty child, as he walks away ranting, I pop the door open real quick and stick my head out and yell, "Your pizza sucks! You suck if you think one driver can save your shitty business! Hope you go bankrupt so I can laugh at you panhandling on the street corner in a month!" I slammed the door shut real quick. He ran back up, pounded on the door, and started screaming some more. Probably another good 20 minutes of his yelling. My neighbor actually went back inside and called me. I told him what was happening, and he just laughs his ass off. Asked if he should maybe call the police over the domestic disturbance going on at my house. I won't say I told him to do it, but I certainly didn't tell him not to. My former boss is standing on my front lawn right now. Blue lights from 3 police car cruisers are flashing among the house as the sun sets on a lovely New England day. I'm sure he won't get arrested, although I'd love to see it. But my oh my, he certainly seems all agitated. The poor cops look bored. They only talked to me for a few minutes, and I told them he's just an ex-boss that won't accept that I quit. They didn't seem all that amused. Oh well, not my problem. Call one of my former coworkers, one of the others who has quit in the week since I've been gone, and it seems that ex-boss was just at his house and yelling at him also. Hell! What a douche. I'm just sitting on my deck around the side of the house, watching my ex-boss as he sheepishly tries to explain harassing an ex-employee at his home to the police. Maybe I should wave at him? And the OP posted an update. I've actually just texted a few other coworkers workers who have also recently quit. So far, 2 others have responded saying this guy showed up at their house. One just told him to F off, slammed the door in his face, and ignored him. And the other wasn't home, but his mother answered, and he was yelling at her for her son quitting. Haven't yet heard back from anybody else, but yeah, looks like I'll be herding a few of us together to an attorney. They're all down for it. Dude, this is effed up. He can't be bothered to hire anybody for months, and he demeans his employees and yells at them. He works his staff to death, and then when they quit, inevitably, he goes to their houses to be even more of a butthole. In my head, this is how OP quit his job. OP: I quit. OP's boss: you can't quit, and I won't fire you. Get back to the store and work, you lazy bum. Jokes aside, OP's former boss is an absolute nimrod, losing staff hand over fist, belittling the ones he had left until they had enough too. What a fantastic example of how not to run a business. That was our /best of Redditor updates, and if you liked this video, check out this video for the juiciest Reddit stories. I'll see you guys there.